So I literally just made this other video, and I was sitting here thinking about how I came in partnership with God about this project that I've been working on called Anchored, and ultimately wanting y'all to see not the intimate side of me, but that there is victory in your vulnerability, and that we're not perfect. That what Instagram and TikTok and other places have shown, it's not reality in life. And so having these intimate moments with you all, because it's hard. Life is hard. And Anchored was literally about being authentic in the moment and life lessons that I'm learning along the way, and I'm learning along my journey that I finally chose to actually participate in a way, and really walk in freedom and really search and be open to receiving healing. And so my transition from California to Texas hasn't been easy, honestly. But I had to make a choice, you know. And I believe it really started when I first got pregnant with Evelyn, honestly. And I started making decisions for my life because I wanted better. You know, leaving my townhome, leaving her father in a way, separating from him, starting the process, even though we kind of did the, you know, the baby mama, baby daddy kind of stuff, moving into a shelter. And it was God all in, Casa Teresa. And y'all are learning about that more, about my journey there. But even then, always making the best decisions, because I beat myself up a lot about being a parent, you know, like the grace I don't give myself that God gives me. And it's like I've made really big decisions for the safety and what's best for my child, so that she doesn't have to go through the things that I went through, or see the things, or be exposed to things that I was exposed to. And so one thing that came to mind sitting here was, while I had did the last recording about peace, it was like the most authentic thing is being intimate with y'all right now about Anchored, you know. And Anchored is really designed that every subscriber, every view, it goes right back to the people. You know, I've worked for organizations, I've been a part of large movements, and I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be a part of a direct service impact, you know, because I was a recipient. I know what it's like for school to be paid for, and to receive a scholarship, and to be able to receive a car with no strings attached, to be surrounded with love that was unconditional with no strings attached, you know, not receiving grant money and funds and things like that, but receiving funds and assistance from direct services, like from people who wanted to see me thrive and wanted to see me heal, you know. One of my mentors paying for my therapy for the last couple years, like, and that gets expensive, and like I wanted to do something different, and that is the purpose of Anchored. It's like every subscriber, every view that we get, it literally is gonna help somebody else's life, you know, people in need, and people that want to take their life to the next level. They want to make a decision to start healing, to go beyond the expectations of what people have placed on them. And so that's what I started doing. But what I realized today was, like, I've been doing all this professional filming, all these lights and these setups, and a part of it honestly has lost the authenticity of like in the moment raw stuff. And so sorry, y'all. And so what I realized today was that talking about Anchored, you know, the first thing is the transition. You know, transition is hard. Me moving from California to Texas was a really big thing for me. No, Cali, stop. Was a really big thing for me. And it took a lot. It took making choices and decisions. I was afraid. It wasn't always easy, you know. I felt like I didn't have nobody, even though I had a few people here. And, you know, God has just been in the details in my life, surrounding me with new friendships and things like that. And so the transition is hard, though. Leaving what you know, what you have known your whole life, and then moving to a place where nobody knows you. The very identity that you thought you built up, or who you are, is completely the very identity that you thought you have built up, or that who you thought you was, you come to a whole new state, into a whole new place, and nobody knows you. Nobody didn't know Ori Freeman, the motivational speaker, or the survivor advocate, or the leader. I'm just Ori Freeman. And there's power in that too, though. Like, I'm able to rediscover, redefine, learn, and really heal here. And it's been hard. It's hard, watching the circles that you've been in. You think friendships you've had for 20 something years is going to be the same people that are your bridesmaids, or the same people that are going to be your intimate circle and that you can cry to in this season, or that's going to walk you through. And something that my pastor Tim Ross had talked about was the same people that tied you up can't be the same people that untie you. And I was tied to a lot of things in California. Chaos, just always constant, always going, just comfortable, easy to control my environment, the people that was around in my life. But I also was, always looking out for everybody else, filling up everybody else's cup. And my cup wasn't being filled up, working so much and so focused on a career that I wasn't always being present with my daughter. Even though I gave her the best environment that I could, it wasn't enough and it wasn't an excuse. And so coming to Texas really forced me, and something that I decided to do was with God was be still. And that was the word that I got that moved me even in Texas, was get to a place in my life in a transition where I would be still. And so I battled with school, thinking like, well, I got this awesome project and this contract coming up and I'm not going to need to go to college and I'm an entrepreneur. And it was like, yeah, but here I go. I get one glimpse of a promise or one glimpse of something that God has for me. And then I just take off running with it and be like, bye, I don't need you no more. Bye. And then I'm back to living, not being still and living fast. And when I say fast, I mean like living in chaos, like got to do this, got to do that, got to do that. And then so my time with my daughter gets minimized. My time with God gets minimized. And just focus on everything but myself. And that's what I've learned, that you can be so busy and be this big entrepreneur or have all this business, but not everything is not good. It's not productive, and losing myself. And so the transition has been extremely hard. The transition on my finances has been hard. When you taking care of a household now, I looked at my energy bill the other day, air conditioning. I said, oh, baby, we are not in California no more. When Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, we are not in Kansas anymore. And so it has stretched me. I was crying the other day in the DMV, which is completely different out here in Texas, y'all. Y'all walk in, you walk out literally in 20 minutes to get my registration. And I'm crying because I had to call my dad to pull some money from my savings because I've been so, strategic on stuff. It's like, Lord, I will never get to this point again in my life. And it's not saying that in a bad way. It's just, it makes me think about all the things that I spent money on to fit in, just to be around people. Yesterday I actually got rid of practically almost everything that I have designer. All my bags, all my shoes. And it's not that this is not a judgmental thing to other people, but it's the heart motive. It's the heart motive. And it was my heart posture when I bought those things. I wear my bag that I got from Africa. I wear my bag that literally has black is powerful, black is beautiful on it from Target. I wear my slides, my rainbow slides that I have worn to the ground every single day. And the only time I put these things on is when I'm going in a certain environment. But even the environments that I thrive in and that I want to be in, actually be in, and that I actually grow from, I don't even wear this stuff. So for me, it was my heart posture. So now I'm not saying when I get married that if my husband chooses to, buy me things, that's what he wants to do. But where my value is, where my heart is and how I've spent my finances have showed, where my heart is and where I had treasured things. And so I let all that stuff go. That was a hard thing for me. And it wasn't about the actual thing, but letting go, moving on in my life in a different space. And this is not against anyone else, but for me, I'm still a jewelry person. I'm not even gonna lie. I ain't let go a lot of that now. But I also held on to things that I love, and so that was a part of the thing. When I went up to UTA the other day to my college and I felt unqualified, I felt like I didn't belong there. I felt like I can't do this, and then I realized and I accepted, you know what? You can't cheat no more. You can't cheat your way through this. You can't take shortcuts. No, you're going to have to put the work in. And right now in the season I'm in my life, a part of this transition is focus, discipline, and building capacity. Like my mom has been saying, it's about building capacity, focusing, and discipline. And anything outside of God, Ori, and Evelyn which is God, spending my time serving, doing other things, you know, in my groups and my Bible studies, or, you know, for me is really focusing on my health, working out, my therapy, going to therapy twice a week, being present with Evelyn, doing things that might be uncomfortable that I might not have done with my mother, like doing those things, and anything outside of that is obsolete. And transition is hard. It has been hard, and I can't stress that enough, but it's worth it, y'all. Like, my sister had told me, like, just spoke over me before I moved here and said, you know, you're gonna have an accelerated growth. And I see the growth that God is doing in me, being able to acknowledge certain things that in my relationships and my friendships, like, man, I just, instead of responding, I actually reacted. I just snapped on somebody, not because of what they said, because how 9-year-old Ori feels when I got rejected or when I got bullied. So now I'm being defensive because I'm not gonna let nobody do that to me. So now I'm not even responding as 27-year-old Ori that's healing. I'm responding as 9-year-old Ori, or 15-year-old Ori that always got rejected, or that got bullied, or that nobody liked, or always trying to prove myself, right? It's that defensiveness stuff. And so I've been having a lot of lessons that I just wanted to share with y'all. And I was just trying to do it so set up versus intimately, you know. And so I have some things I definitely, but it's beautiful, you know. Texas is right where I'm supposed to be. It's where my daughter's supposed to be. I'll come home one day, you know, when it's time, but not right now. This season is about resting and really growing and healing. Honestly, it's the best investment I've ever made in myself. All the things that I've ever done, like, this is the best investment I have made. It's literally being still, learning how to be alone. You know, I've struggled with that, not just in relationships, but in friendships. Like, before I'm calling my homegirl or calling somebody about how I feel or how somebody made me irritated, I should be calling my therapist or talking to God about it, you know, honestly, because they ain't gonna have the answer for me. It's just, only thing is anger and bitterness is just gonna fuel it, you know. And so I just, yeah, I hope that this series, and that if I can't leave people with nothing else, is that embrace the journey. Life is a journey. I remember my therapist told me that something's going to happen extraordinary for you when you turn 27. And when I turned 27 years old, honestly, it was like all my friends I thought would be my best friends or that I would talk to every day, literally, it was like everything disappeared, you know. Even where I thought I would be in my career started changing, and God started opening up different doors, and he still is doing it for me, you know. I thought I was going to be bigger than Oprah and be on a talk show, and, you know, I'm definitely getting more engaged in education and how, man, like how doors open up in that way, you know. And so, and other things too. I'm not going to say that that dream is not there, like to be having my own talk show and stuff like that, but it definitely is a different mission and a different purpose, and it's not selfish, you know. But I got to go through this selfless process right now, and that's taking care of me. And one thing one of my big group ladies has said one time is that I need to focus on this healing season so that I'm not bleeding out on everybody else, because I've done it in the past. You know, I've been in positions in leadership roles and advocacy roles where I'm sitting up here cussing out my baby daddy, or he cussing me out, calling me out my name, or I'm calling him out my name, and yet I'm sitting up here telling a young girl, you need to respect yourself. Like, it's all these things that God had to really get me to a space to learn, even too, how in certain instances I've been the abuser, you know. So that's something for me. But I really wanted to share that with you all, and kind of like the purpose of what Anchored is going to be. And I hope that you find what you can be anchored in. For me, it's God, it's Jesus. It's the ultimate source. And I hope that you have people that you can rely on and have community, because you can't do this by yourself. You know, I couldn't do this transition by myself, and God brought people in my life I would have never expected. And then ultimately, as a mother, I think about those people are not just for me, but for my daughter, for Evelyn. You know, she's covered. I remember the day I was driving, and it was like, I felt like the heavens opened up. It was so crazy, because I was going to have an abortion. And I mean, I was just really in a hard place in my life, and I feared that I couldn't do it. And I remember it was like when I was driving that day, it was like the sky, the heavens opened up. And I felt God. I heard him say, like, I got you. And I think about how Evelyn, I've never had to buy a pamper. I've never had to buy a wipe. I literally went through her last bin of clothes where now she literally has no more clothes left. And she's going into a 4T. And literally, I've never bought a pair of clothes. I've never bought a pair of shoes. Like, she has been covered. She has been covered. And I have to be reminded sometimes that even in that covering the mechanical stuff, like the stability stuff, a roof over her head, of course. But family, like, she doesn't have unhealthy people around her. And even though we make mistakes, God has been very detailed and particular about the people that he has placed in my life now for her in ways like community, man, that has been healthy and helping me grow it to be a better mom, you know, her nana and other people, her uncles, and just like people that are not blood relatives, honestly. And so I have to even be reminded to be anchored in love and forgiveness too, so that I could be a better mom for her. And so that I hope that you all find something to be anchored in. But that's the whole purpose. You know, I hope that you get to watch and see the journey that I'm on. And so that it gives somebody else hope, ultimately. You know, I know what it's like to be a student. I know what it's like to be a friend. I know what it's like to be a SHITTY friend and not know how to be a friend. I know what it's like to be in unhealthy relationships, toxic relationships, abusive relationships on both sides. I know what it's like to not have peace and to feel like you're going to lose your mind. I know what it's like to feel like you just want to end everything right now. I know what it's like to be abandoned. I know what it's like to be alone. I know what it's like to be rejected. I get it. I get it. But there is hope. There is hope. And I wish, but I've started now embracing the journey and taking life's circumstances, obstacles, and taking them into learning lessons. You will fail, but you will also win. And those wins feel more greater when you go through obstacles and you have fought hard to get it. That's just what I've learned the easy way, because I've done things the easy way and there's no reward in that. So I hope that you all get anchored and be anchored in love, be anchored in forgiveness, be anchored in hope. Don't be anchored in bitterness and hate and unforgiveness. It's not for other people, it's for you. You know, so that you can be a vessel and bring light and shine in this world and bring love in this world and bring peace in this world. So, but it all starts with you first. And that's what I'm learning in my transition. And it's definitely not an easy one, but it's worthwhile. So get anchored and stay anchored.